Hello, thank you for joining us on platform. I'm Ruth Aguela. Nigeria faces a significant challenge, particularly with the number of out-of-school children and the Almajiri system, which is a complex social, cultural and educational issue on its own. Well, it's prominent in the northern part of the country. Historically rooted in Islamic education, the system has faced significant criticism and challenges over time. Now, the term Almajiri comes from the Arabic word al-muhajirun, meaning someone who migrates in search of Islamic knowledge. These Almajiri most times go into street begging due to lack of resources or support from their teachers or the state, which often puts them at security risk. Concerned with their plight, the federal government took a bold step to create reforms to reintegrate the system with the establishment of the National Commission for Almajiri and Out-of-School Children Education to address the issue of illiteracy and provide educational opportunities for children who are part of the Almajiri system. Now, its mandate includes implementing a multimodal education system, fostering skills acquisition and entrepreneurial skills, also preventing youth poverty and delinquency. Already, some northern states have taken proactive measures by banning street begging and have begun repatriation process of Almajiri back to their home states. Following the mandate of the Commission, which is to shape the Almajiri system, some experts say without a holistic and sustained intervention, well, millions of children will remain trapped. On Focus, our platform is on ways of elevating the Nigerian child, the Almajiri system. And our guest is the Executive Secretary of the National Commission for Almajiri and Out-of-School Children Education, Dr. Mohammed Idris. Thank you very much for joining us, Dr. Idris.
Thank you, Ruth, for having me again.
It's our pleasure. And just before we bring in our panelists, you know we have to let you in on who our guest is by reading out his profile. Dr. Mohammed Sani Idris holds a PhD in Islamic and Arabic Studies. He has about 4 decades of teaching experience, former headmaster. He's also been a former principal, a former director general, Al-Imam Schools, Nigeria, former director, El-Kanami College of Islamic Theology, Maiduguri, Borno State. Immediate past commissioner for basic and secondary education, Yobe State, reformed education system, rather the sector within 5 years. He is an education consultant, both nationally and internationally. He's an expert in dualization of curriculum, Western and Islamic education, memorizer of the Quran, which I find very interesting, chairman panel of judges for Quranic recitation competitions. He has won several awards among all the numerous achievements. Well done, Dr. Idris.
Thank you very much.
All right, our panelist is the head of our education desk here in NTA, Rashidat Olagunju Mustafa. Thank you so much for joining us, Rashidat.
Thank you, Ruth, for having me.
All right. Once again, thank you for joining us on platform.
Thank you very much.
When you came on board, you know, you were on the move, coming up with efforts, you know, to reform and revamp a broken system, a system that people, you know, have relegated to one side. And you have put in so much effort. Within a short pace, we're seeing, you know, changes beginning to happen. But tell us, you know, your roadmap when you came on board, what you met and what you're strategizing.
Okay, thank you, Ruth, for having me once again. I want to appreciate NTA for demonstrating uncommon passion and supporting us in our quest to address this very delicate problem of Almajiri in Nigeria. I want to start by saying that there had been several attempts actually made right from Sardauna time to revitalize this age-long decade system of education, which is seriously lacking in pedagogy. All these attempts were actually unable to give the desired results. More than 500 literatures about Almajiri system of education and its reforms have been so far published without any cogent and verifiable evidence of success that was made by those literatures. So we felt that now that we have a very serious political will on the part of His Excellency President, who is passionate and dedicated about the revitalization of the Almajiri system of education, and again, the issue of out-of-school children. Yeah. All these two issues are actually giving us a serious nightmare, because hypothesis has shown that Almajiri is now in the increase. And because it is a trans-border issue, other countries, also neighboring countries, are bringing lots of Almajiri into Nigeria for the sake of the Quranic memorization, as well, without any source of, any means of sustenance. On the other hand, you also have out-of-school children. UNICEF is saying that we have about 18.3 million, yeah. And that is placing Nigeria, second globally. Yeah. It doesn't make us any proud, but it is actually not giving us the opportunity to raise up our head tall in the face of other Committee of Nations when it comes to issue of education. So His Excellency felt that we actually have to face this problem. We have to address this problem, especially now that we are faced with a number of insecurity issues. Talk about Boko Haram, banditry, whatsoever. So Almajiri and out-of-school children have so far constituted a sufficient pool for recruitment by those people. So we felt that whatever we should do, it should also be uncommon, because when you continue to repeat the same thing the same way, you will actually arrive at the same result. I was able to read probably 80% of those literatures written. I was able to review them. And I understand that one of the reasons why this problem keeps persisting is because someone who is seated in Abuja is trying to address this problem using his God-given cognitive. And we felt that actually that is not the best way to approach this problem. If you want to address this problem, you have to bring the Islamic scholars together. You have to bring them to sit with you, to discuss with you. You have to have a heart-to-heart discussion, an open discussion, yeah, where all issues will be put on table, diagnose them. These what people assume is our religious doctrine, because some people are also of the belief that to send your child for begging, that is fetching you more reward in the day of judgment. We were able to tell them that. So we had a very serious retreat. We were assisted with, by the NSA, who graciously, supported us and gave us his office. And we had a serious encounter with a lot of Islamic scholars, and we came up with a strategy that has the capacity of addressing this problem. Mm-hmm. So we are now having a 10-year plan, which not only has the capacity of addressing this problem, but it will also serve as a guide for other neighboring countries, should they want to address the problems of Almajiri and out-of-school children. It took us a lot of time, but actually we are there. If you want to address this problem, you actually have to close the tap. Well, you cannot just be doing things while people are still, giving birth to Almajiri and they are still sending them to the street. Sure. So you have to close it from the tap so that there will be no more water, flowing. Otherwise, you will be working in vain. Yeah. And that was why we also went to, the Lectured Governors Forum to discuss with them, to address them, to say that, please, unless you are also in the same tune with us, we will not be able to address this problem. Those outcomes are actually giving us a leeway and the confidence that we are on the verge of addressing this problem. Okay. And very soon, Ruth, you will be happy to go from Abuja to Maiduguri to Kano without seeing one single child on the street.
I grew up in Kano, so I know the system, seeing these children. But let's hear from Rashida.
And that will be quite interesting.
Yes.
Not seeing them on the street.
Yes.
I want to take you back a bit. We talk about the inter-border migration of Almajiri into Nigeria, and you still mention the engagement at the Lake Chad Basin. I want you to expatiate a bit on that. How do we intend, how are the other countries collaborating with us to address this menace?
Yes, what we told them then when we met them, that, look, children from Cameroon and children from Chad and children from Niger are coming. and then nobody is actually taking count of those children. The parents of the neighboring, areas are also having the same understanding of misperception of the true, exegesis of some verses of the Holy Quran. So should we come together, adopt a common strategy and accept to come up with a template that will not only speak the Nigerian version, but will also take into cognizance the Cameroonian and the Chadian version. That all the governors should agree to come up with a mechanism that will check those children that are infiltrating, our borders. Anybody that is coming from Nigeria to Cameroon, is coming from Cameroon to Nigeria, should be registered, should be known. And the madam to whom he is going should also be known. We should have the data of this madam. And we should also know whether the parents have actually sent this
concrete arrangement with the madam for his feeding and his welfare.
Yes, actually accompanying this child with the requirement for this child to live in a state other than his own state. So if these mechanisms are put in place and then this trans-border crossing is checked, believe you me, this problem will be addressed. The other issue is when also people keep on saying that, let us feed these children, Almajiri, and then for you to address this problem, you have to feed them. That, to me, is actually misunderstanding, because you have about 30 million, according to the unverified data of Almajiri. Nobody has the power and the resources to feed the 30 million. More so that, yes, more so that if you say you are going to feed Almajiri, that means you are now allowing other people to keep, producing. Yes. Because someone is taking charge of them.
Yes.
So what you will do is let them come. The legislatures, from all these countries, they have to come together and promulgate a law that will now criminalize anybody that is taking his son outside the shops of his town within a bracket or year bracket that is unacceptable. That person should be criminalized. So if you want to train your child, you should train him, in the same village where you are. Or otherwise, when you are sending him outside, he should reach at least the age of 12, and he should have someone to whom he will be addressed to, not just madams who are packing, all this number of children without any means of sustenance.
Okay. Dr. Idris, the state governors also have crucial role to play. And I know of recent you had a meeting with these northern state governors, and they are expected, to integrate the Commission's programs into their own local education strategies. They are supposed to provide campaign for sensitization at the local level, logistics and all of that, even budget allocation. What is the synergy you're getting from them? Because if your reforms at the federal level must be domesticated, they have to buy in to the process.
I want to say that actually the governors in the northern part are actually doing excellently good. This commission is being replicated across, most of the northern states. You now have commission for Almajiri and out-of-school children in Jigawa State. The bill is about to be passed also in Gombe State. Yesterday, I hosted, a team from the governor of Katsina State. Yobe State has budgeted over 500 million for the reintegration of Almajiri. Borno State, Professor Zulum is doing a wonderful job through his board for Arabic and Islamic Studies. Sokoto State are also doing the same thing. So what we are doing now is we are able to establish offices now. Within this 1 year that we are in office, we are able to establish office across all the 36 states. And these, our offices are actually working hand in hand with the agencies, the state agencies. And that is actually giving us a positive result. And that is what is now giving us the audacity to say, all resources and all things being equal, By the end of this year, we'll be able to bring back to school at least 4 million Nigerians that are on the street back to school. I want to tell you that within a space of 2 months now, or 1 month from the day we establish our state offices, we were able to mop up more than 100,000 out of school children that are now ready to go back to school. On the issue of Almajiri, we are also establishing centers. Come, visit our Kaduna school, the school
that's
we call...
the pilot
Yes, that's
center.
the pilot program of Tinubu Skills Legacy School. It's a school that is clustering, number of memorizers of the Quran, who are hitherto unable to speak Arabic, unable to speak English. And you know the danger of their inability to speak Arabic, that is making them vulnerable to the exploitation, linguistical exploitation and manipulation of Boko Haram, who will now come and give them exegesis that are not in concordance with the true teaching of the Quran and say that this is the meaning of the verse you have memorized. We are now giving them linguistical immunity against any ideology that is not intended with the true exegesis of the verses of the Holy Quran. Go to Kaduna. Within a space of 3 months that we have started this school, believe you me, those children are now speaking Arabic better than most of the SS3 students in public school. These students are now speaking English better than most of the SS3 students. And go and see, the type of skills acquisition and the training they are undergoing. Believe you me, within the next 9 months, all of them will not be anything short of millionaires, because of the skill they are learning.
Will they be given startup packs?
Yes.
Okay.
So what we are saying is that if this pilot succeeds, and we are going to now expose them to unbiased examination, they will now be certified. We had discussions with Saudi authority. We went to Saudi Arabia, and we were able to engage a number of universities that are willing to absorb them. You can start as an Almajiri, finish the memorization of the Quran, come to our center for 1 year, and go to university. So what we are saying is that we have actually so far achieved a lot. If this pilot is successful, we are going to replicate it across all the northern states. And in the next 3 weeks, we will also launch another school for out-of-school children in Ibadan. You will be flabbergasted, to see children at the age of 13, especially girls, living under, bridge, and giving birth to out-of-school children, and an out-of-school girl giving birth to another out-of-school. So we are bringing them together, cluster them in a house we rented in Ibadan, and give them serious skill, and teach them English, and bring medical doctors and DLE to talk to them, so that they will, they will come back to normalcy, so that they will also, have the opportunity to contribute to the development and growth of the GDP of this country.
I've only have issues with this data that numbers of out-of-school children that we are throwing around. And there has always been controversy whether that is the exact number or not. Don't you think there is a need for us to take a holistic approach to these numbers of numbers of out-of-school children that we have in Nigeria? It is only when we know the amount of children out on the streets, whether Almajiri or out of school, those under the bridge that we are talking about, I think that is when we will be able to address this holistically. We have the exact number, we know them. But this one, we are just guessing, okay, the numbers given, they're actually not even by Nigerians.
Very
okay, I know that, I keep saying this thing, there is the personal audit by UBEC. I know you are collaborating with UBEC very well. They even have a department, on Almajiri. So can't we check that partnership further to get a holistic numbers of our children on the streets?
That is, that's actually good. I want to say this is what our minister is actually focusing on. Tunji Alausa is saying we cannot be relying on data that is generated for us and on behalf of us by non-Nigerians.
UNESCO has,
yes,
UNICEF has.
Yes, that actually creates, sometimes an interplay between politics and the true figure of the out-of-school children. So the ministers are actually working around the clock to make sure that this data is our own, the data is protected. And you also covered, my visit to the Minister of Health, who graciously also offered to help us to generate data of our own, so that not only capturing, the name of the children. For the Almajiri, you see now, if you go to Jere, you see a chunk number of them. Ask them how long have you stayed in the school. He will tell you, I'm 10 years in the school. But yes, he has not memorized even one hizib. That means they are actually not schooling. They are even not going to the Almajiri school. God has made memorization of the Quran now so easy that you can memorize Quran within a space of 2 years. So you don't need to stay for 10 years. The problem is that this system has suffered lack of, acceptable educational pedagogies. It has also suffered lack of acceptable curriculum, and the teachers are not exposed to any training, so they just bring them and they keep training them, using the orthodox way. What we are saying this time around, we are not only going to revitalize the system by making sure that the students are not on the street, but by making sure that the teachers are also in tandem with the 20th century pedagogy.
Because I was going to ask you that.
Yes.
If you're carrying these children, equipping them with the right knowledge, what about the teachers?
Yes.
Whose orientation is focused on what they are used to in the past. There must be a sense of reorientation.
Yes.
And let's not forget the parents too. Making them understand the importance of creating that balance between the religious knowledge and the vocational and academic learning.
Let me tell you, Ruth, beautifully, you keep asking this question. Actually, we have now inaugurated, heads of state advocacy team. And this is also a pilot program that will be test run in 8 states. And this time around, we say we are going to adopt the polio system of advocacy. Polio are following from one house to another.
Yes.
And
the traditional rulers and community leaders.
And the advocacy before used to be limited to radio, to television, and to some discussions with the expert on BBC and then some pliers. What we are going to do now is not only to engage the malams, we are going to engage them, we are going to engage parents, but this time around, most importantly, we are also going to engage the mothers. And we have prepared a serious documentary that has the capacity of provoking their spirit of sympathy. A documentary that will say it all, that will speak about the naked truth of the life and the dangers these children are being exposed to. A mother will be allowed, let me tell you, Rose, I don't know if you know that. Uzairu in Bauchi lost his 2 eyes to a ritualist who lured him into a house in the name of giving him food. Some of these children are being sexually abused. Yes. I visited a small boy, a 13-year-old boy, who is suffering from an ailment that is threatening his life. When I visited, the Dala hospital, the medical director was telling me that actually that child has sustained serious fracture on his backbone, that his 2 kidneys were also damaged, and he also had a problem with his liver as a result of, this sexual abuse that was conducted on him by someone in the name of giving him food. Just food, you take advantage. And the boy was just telling me that, is there anybody on this earth who will fight for my right? That is why you actually have to stand and remove your cap or drop your cap to appreciate and respect the president. If the president will send the whole ES to as far as Kano just to go and visit one child, that this time around we are having it correct. We are having uncommon passion, on the side of the presidency. So it is left to us to do this work. So let the mothers also see this.
Yes.
And now say, if they will allow these children to be taken part, And what we are also going to do at the level of the commission is sometimes, you know, they are taking students as far as Maiduguri, maybe from Sokoto, 1,000 kilometers, because in those villages there are no Quranic school. So what we are going to help to do is to open a dualized curriculum school in most of the villages. As we open 36 states. So you don't need to travel to anybody, anywhere. Just, you know,
take school into them.
We are taking the school to them. And then we are running dualized curriculum. As the former director of El Kenemi, I have produced number of students who are today medical doctors and as well memorizers of Quran. They speak Arabic fluently, they speak English fluently, they are medical doctors. Some of them even, you know, won international award and they are still memorizers of the Quran. While those in the Almajiri, if they have memorized Quran, they are only limited to the memorization of the Holy Quran without even, you know, the understanding of the teaching of the Quran itself. Quran is talking to them. They don't know.
Because if they actually know, Doctor, what the Quran is saying to them, they will know the verse about begging and the hadith, what the Prophet said about begging, the circumstances surrounding begging, when you can start, when you can stop, and the condition where you can beg. So, as you rightly said, definitely, they are not in tandem with those knowledge. But again, talking about taking schools to them and stuff, what is happening to our Zangaya schools? How are we revitalizing them and bringing them back on board for the purpose of these initiatives?
Okay, let me tell you that we are actually taking it from various perspectives. Number one, we say that we have to engage state legislatures. Because some of these malams, you know, as much as I respect them, but some of them are also taking advantage of these students, exposing them to cheap labor. If you have a farm and you want to farm it, instead of paying for 500 naira per person or 1,000 naira per person, you will just go to malam and he will dash you good number of students for 3,000. Some of these malams are sending these students to go and beg. We have to have a law that is criminalizing this. A situation where malam does not have enough place to accommodate 50 students, he will take as much as 500. And he doesn't care where they sleep. They doesn't care whom they relate with. So we have to actually have a law that is saying that if you have a school, you have to operate within the space you are having and make sure that this admission is guided, this admission is protected. Also, law that is incriminating parents that will give birth to children. Let me tell you what happened in one of the states that I will not want to mention. A man wanted to actually take a second wife, and all he had was 2 rooms, and he wanted a vacant room, and he felt that, okay, now that those children had their mother, died, let me take them to Malam, so that a space will be created. This person is supposed to rot in jail.
Yes.
Another man was also caught brutalizing this child. He beat the hell out of that child to the extent that the child fainted and he died. And nothing happened to him. So we have to, the approach number one is that we have to come together to say that to call a spade. Those things that people are afraid to talk about, we should have the audacity to say, this is actually what you are doing, you are taking advantage of this student, and therefore we are regulating the system. Nobody should come to school without food. No teacher should employ admit students that he cannot afford to look after. No parent should send child without means of sustenance. The curriculum must also integrate Western education because they are Nigerians and they have to help to contribute to develop this country.
Okay, Dr. Idris, I'm just curious to know, what has been done to those persons who have been caught brutalizing or tormenting this, because we have laws, the Child Rights Act, but that will be after the break. Let's take a break. We'll be back.
Thank you.
Thank you for staying tuned. The conversation is elevating the Nigerian child, the Almajiri system. Dr. Idris, before we went on break, you were just revealing some, heart-wrenching situation, especially in the aspect of the brutalization you have been able to get information of these children. We have laws, like I said earlier. We have the Child Rights Act, which has been domesticated in some states and all of that. Even aside that, these are criminal offenses, like you've rightly put it. Did the Commission step in to take these persons to, as culprits?
Yes, actually, what we did was, at the instance of His Excellency the President, we went to visit that child. And we took information surrounding, the mayhem that was unleashed on this child. I also went to, personally, I visited the Commissioner of Police. I wanted to see the suspect. The Commissioner of Police then guided me to go to the prison. I went there. I eventually found the person, and the case then was in court. So we actually have to halt our process, because when matters are in court, you don't again delve into it. Yeah. And we are still following with the issue of that court and the child and what is happening to him. In the case of that child that was brutalized in Maiduguri, we went as far as Maiduguri. We visited, the state. And we saw that actually His Excellency, the Executive Governor, did a wonderful thing by arresting that Malam and taking him to, the law enforcement agencies. And also, the boy was, accommodated in the house of the Honorable Commissioner. We paid him a courtesy call. We conveyed the message of the President to the parents of the children. And we are now ready to sponsor the education of that child. We learned that the governor is also doing that, but we are trying to see if we can as well step in. We are now just 1 year, and we are faced with a number of problems. But one of the issues we actually want to do, we want to have a strong legal department that will be trying this type of culprit. We have to make sure that Nigerians are protected. You said we have laws. Actually, in Nigeria, we have lots of policies. We have lots of laws. But the problem is that someone has to stand up and say, I will pursue the implementation of those laws.
Or domesticate it.
Yes, religiously. And domesticating it across all the 36 states of this country. It is unacceptable that people are taking advantage of children at the age of 3. I was, last year going around Abuja. I was trying to locate a filling station, and I saw a boy at the age of 8 crying on a rainy day. I asked him, "Who are you?" He said, "I'm an Almajiri." "Why are you crying?" He said, I did not eat. I did not eat for the past 24 hours.
Wow.
How could on earth a parent accept this? How could we as Nigerians accept it? That is why, Mr. President is always talking about out-of-school children. So this is actually an issue that goes beyond religion, that goes beyond, geographical boundaries, that go beyond everything. This is a purely humanitarian job that we must all be stakeholders. We must all stand up and say, enough is enough. And we are beautifully also introducing, AAA, adopt an Almajiri or adopt an out-of-school child, because feeding 30 million Nigerians cannot be done by this government, nor could it be done by any government. So we have to actually engage the community so that we holistically approach this problem and address it. And believe you me, with the passion of Mr. President on this issue, if this is not addressed this time around, one will fear that this thing could continue for probably eternity. But God's willing, and with the support we are getting from the President and from the 2 ministers who are passionate, who are always calling me, who are always guiding me, who are always, expecting reports from me, very soon Nigerians will have the cause to rejoice, the establishment of this commission.
Doctor, you just mentioned a boy that you saw on the street of Abuja. I also saw a video clip sometimes last year. 2 boys in Ongwa Oko in Kano. The youngest was around 3-4 years old. They were both crying. And a good Samaritan stopped them. What happened? The youngest said he hasn't eaten for the past, was it 48 hours or so? The good Samaritan was touched. He got food for them. Then he called one NAPEP guy that he should take them back to their parents' house. Apparently, they live in Region Lemo. From Region Lemo to Ungwaoko,
The same state.
To go and beg those young children. And he also asked the driver that he should make sure he gets the address of the parent because he would like to go visit. So the next time he went there himself to go and see the parent, and fortunately the father was at home. And the father was saying that he had to send them out to go and beg because he has no job, he can't do anything. And you now send a 4-year-old child
To go and beg.
to go and beg. The eldest maybe being around 8 or 9. It's really a pathetic story.
Yes, very alarming. You see, actually what you and sometimes people you know are hiding under the banner of poverty. Believe you me, 80% of this problem is not poverty. Because you see this same man that is sending his children for begging, when it is time for the wedding of his daughter, he will be able to buy, you know, a luxurious bed for her.
Yes.
He will buy this, he will buy that because he wants to, yes,
Or even if he wants to add another wife.
Yes, it is time for us to begin to criminalize people. And if, you know, sometimes they are hiding under the guise of religion. You can, if, according to the teaching of Islam, the responsibility of feeding a child lies on the shoulder of his father. If begging is the only means of sustaining this children, then it is you that is expected to go out to beg, not sending them. They are supposed to be at home with their mother, or if the two of you want to go out and beg, keep them at home, go and beg on their behalf. But this begging, you see, sometimes the first food they will get is even for the madam. They will beg. The first one they will not eat.
Yes.
I had, you know, I had the cause to hear that, you know, one day one Almajiri was so much hungry that the first slot, he decided to eat the first slot. He couldn't withstand, you know, the hunger. And he did not take it to man. And he couldn't get another slot. So man asked him, he said, I couldn't get anything. He just smelled his hand and he felt that, yes, this boy has eaten. He beat the head out of that child. So what we are saying is, we have to begin to actually criminalize anybody who is taking advantage of these children. That notwithstanding, I want to appreciate the fact that actually this system in the olden days has also produced scholars of international repute. This is to be a system that we all cherish. So what we are saying, nobody is calling for the abrogation of the system of Almajiri, but enhance it, make it better. You cannot bring a child and ask him to sleep, you know, around the gutter of your house. You cannot bring this child and take him, you know, to the highway. About 4 weeks now, 4 children in Nasarawa State, 4 or 5 children Almajiri lost their life to a lorry loaded with orange that ran through their heads, and they all died because they had no place to sleep.
You know, Dr. Idris, the stories we keep hearing are really pathetic.
Yes, it is.
And if we want to, you know, continue sharing these stories, we will not live here.
Yeah.
I know you inaugurated a task force for monitoring and evaluation to ensure that some of these initiatives, you know, are well implemented. The retention of these children in the centers you're talking about and the sensitization is sustained. What is the feedback you're getting?
Actually, I want to admit that parents are now becoming more aware of their responsibilities. The documentary we played last time has made people to understand that we are more than serious. And the feedback we are getting from all the oldest task force we inaugurated is that people are now ready to allow their children to go back to, you know, formal education. Even the Almajiri, 90% of them are now ready to allow the infusion of basic literacy and numeracy into the curriculum. Okay. The school we established in Abuja has also sent a very serious glad tidings to all the scholars. You know, part of the reasons were also there had been promises, you know, in the past administration. So when you go to a man and you say, this thing has been talked and talked and talked, and then nothing is done. Alhamdulillah, now this government is matching its words with action. So they are now beginning to see that this is a serious approach. It's a departure from the past. norms and then the past practice, and then we are serious about it. So believe you me, as I said, all things being equal, our intention is now to take basic education into 1,000 Almajiri schools this year, and also to mop off 4 million out of school children. You know, His Excellency the President has signed a pact with Nigerians that before the end of his first tenure, 10 million out of school children must go back to school. So we are working day and night to ensure that these 10 million are back to school. This is capital intensive. This should not be left to the government alone. We are, extending our hands of request to all well-meaning Nigerians to come to support us. We are also inviting, all volunteers to come and help us work together, because this work cannot be accomplished by me as the ES. Neither could it be accomplished, by the Commission. All hands has to be on deck. And I think NTA is doing its part. You are constantly inviting us to come and make people more aware. I'm very sure NTA has contributed handsomely to the awareness that we are now seeing, with the parents. And a lot of you have also assisted us in sensitizing the public. So when you continue to do that, that will go a long way in making the public more informed. And then we will now give an applause to NTA, saying that NTA has played its role.
But what about, it's a multi-sectoral approach. Are you working with the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs? The homegrown school feeding program, it's also a strategy to enroll children into school.
Yes, I think...
especially for the aspect of out of school.
Yes, I think, Ruth, you are in better position to say, the offices we are visiting. We are almost all over this country. And just last month, I was appointed as a member of steering committee on the homegrown feeding, and the minister there, the two ministers are wonderfully, doing a work that deserves commendation. We have signed an MOU with her, and we have accepted to also take this feeding to Almajiri. But we are trying as much as possible, to divorce from the culture of come to learn and get food, because exposing ourselves to tying learning to food will now help in bringing more people that we could not take. What we want is to sensitize parents and make sure that they live up to their expectations.
Okay,
they live, this is a God-assigned responsibility. They should not abdicate it.
Okay. Doctor, let's move to the south and west a bit. Talking about out-of-school children, you mentioned the initiative to get some girls from outside, from under the bridge, collaboration with NDLE and stuff like that. I want you to tell us more about that pact. Talking about with NDLE, when you mention NDLE, that means we are talking about drug as well. It has to do with some drug issues. So when we have NDLE, then I think we should also have rehabilitating them. Because once drug is involved, it's not just about NDLE. We need rehabilitation for them. So how are we going to go about that?
Actually, what we are doing in the south, as I said, was to mop off those out-of-school children, especially those that are vulnerable to recruitment by either the ritualist or the bandit or even the armed robbers. And we have now inaugurated a committee that is also going from ward to ward. What we are actually doing is not necessarily that they are, drug abusers. What we are trying to do is to bring the NDLE, to bring, prison warders, to bring lawyers, to bring all stakeholders to come to talk to them. That what you are doing may lead you to A, B, C, D. So that at the end of this 9 months course, they will come out as pure and clean as we want them, and as learned as they are expected to be, and as ready to contribute to the development of this country as they should be. So that is what we are doing, actually, mopping from. And then this mopping exercise is categorized into two. We mop from the street and take them, to the public school. through the assistance of various state governors who are more than willing to help us to do that. And, in collaboration with some of the CSOs and also the state agencies. That is why we say that we are going to take back to school at least 4 million. And also the beauty of our mandate is that it has allowed us to also establish schools that will run as a model school. Sometimes there are areas in some of our states where there is no school. So you open a temporary school. We are not at luxury of having to say we have to build a school. What we are saying, if you have a God-fearing teacher, a passionate and determined, administration, and you also parents that are ready to allow their children come to school, learning will take place even if it is under the shade of a tree. We take the school to their doorsteps and make sure that they are educated. At the end, when you give them the ability to read and write, they will locate schools wherever it is, and they will go because they now know the benefit of being in school.
Okay, in all the advocacy you have spoken about, Dr. Idris, you then mentioned the role of traditional rulers, Islamic scholars. I know you're working closely with them because they are the ones who are directly connected to these people at every level. What is your message?
Actually, this is the advocacy team. What we are doing is, in each state, we are dividing the advocacy team into 3 senatorial districts. In each senatorial district, you have a team of advocates. They must consist of Islamic scholars where they are Muslims, and probably a pastor or a Christian scholar where they are not Muslims.
Okay.
There must be a traditional ruler, a representative of the state government, a representative of women, folk, a representative of also youth, so that together they go. And apart from, the advocacy, in each ward now, we establish a committee that is called Inquirers Volunteer Committee, so that those people will continue to report to us. If you now take back a child into school and he decided to withdraw, they will report to us that this child you registered have now withdrawn. If there is any problem about Almajiri, they will report it to this committee. So what we are trying in essence to have is to have Nigeria that is at our fingertip, that whatever happens to Almajiri is something that can reach to the commission within a space of 24 hours. That is why we even say that we are going to tie our data collection to what is called LIN, Learner Identification Number. Okay. If you see any Almajiri, all you need to is to take his fingerprint, open your smartphone, place it in the application, and it will give you all information about this Almajiri. Believe you me, as in the next 1 year, you will begin to see a different Nigeria, courtesy of Mr. President.
All right, Dr. Idris, very briefly, your final thoughts, very briefly. We have to round up.
What I'm trying to appeal to Nigerians is that this is a call for service. It has to be, it's a problem that we are all facing. This we must approach politics aside. We have to, we are appealing to them to support us to succeed. We are also appealing to the state governors to work together and collaborate with us so that together we will address this problem. Our failure to address this problem has actually led into emergence of terrorist group that are today unleashing mayhem on all of us. We have to hand over this country to our children. Country that is free from banditry. A Nigeria that is free from terrorism.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mohammed Sani Idris, for enlightening Nigerians about the situation. And it's good we know that there is a reform that is taking place in the system. Thank you very much.
Thank you, my dear.
Thank you. And we want to appreciate our panelists, our Head of Education Desk here in NTA, Rashidat Olagunju Mustafa. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
All right, we have been discussing ways of elevating the Nigerian child, the Almajiri system. Growing up in the northern part of the country, this song echoes in my head. Koda kanzo Almajiri nabara. It means even if it's left over, I need it. But thank God, it's a new dawn. because we're seeing the changes happen, and it takes you and me to make it right, because it is the right of every child to education, the right of that child to live freely. And that's Platform. I'm Ruth Aguwele. Bye.